Mr. Chairman, you are live on YouTube.
Very good. All right, we are back from our executive session. Director Richards, if you'd please take us to the next item on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, when you left in January, you had already worked 26 LSO 0400. You now have before you working draft 0.7, and I'll turn it over to Tamara Reveley to comment about the changes that were made.
Ms. Reveley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yes, as Mr. Richards said, you have already worked this bill. You made several amendments on a rather larger version at your last meeting. And so what this bill does is it incorporates those amendments as well as a few things identified either through the technical review process or through one item through Department of Health conversations. And so I can kind of point you through those changes without walking through the entire bill. The first amendment that was rather large was the removal of the telehealth services from the bill, and this resulted in several changes besides just removing those pages from the bill. The title of the bill, the short title, has been narrowed just a bit to be Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program. It has that program, and then the act relates to federal rural health transformation program funds. So it's rather very narrowly drafted to try to keep the bill limited to the topic of the rural health transformation program funds, now that that's the only thing that it deals with. The committee had some amendments that, for example, dealt with the reversions of funds that went out to purpose dedicated shares and to initiatives. So that language is incorporated and highlighted. There was a change identified by the Department of Health to reference that program income be expended in the first several years. And so that's been incorporated. And then the committee left with some technical direction or some conceptual direction on how to phrase wind deviation from the percentages that were specified in the bill. So those are the areas I highlighted. I didn't highlight every single technical change that was made, but those are the large ones. And if you'd like, we can flip through them, or if you've had a chance to read through them, we can move on.
Ms. Reveley, we'll go ahead and move on, but I need to refer to Director Richards. Do we need to go through this page by page and look for motions from members before we can go ahead and vote on this and close it out?
Mr. Chairman, it is not necessary to go page by page, but you could ask if there are any motions by the committee before taking the question on the entire bill.
Okay, I believe everyone's had an opportunity to review this particular bill, so we won't go page by page. Are there any motions? Are there any changes or any comments on this bill? Version 0.7. And I'm going to try to thumb through everyone here. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote to finalize this bill. And again, this is the Rural Health Transformation Fund bill, and this will be a House bill. So let's see, Ms. Vaughn, will you please take the roll?
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. On 26 LSO 0400, Senator Driscoll.
Aye.
Senator French. I see him online, but I do not have audio for him.
Okay, we'll come back to him.
Thank you, sir.
And I may
Senator
leave this
Drew?
vote open, Ms. Vaughn, for his vote if we're not able to get technical difficulties taken care of before we're finished.
Absolutely. Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Larson.
Aye.
Representative Alleman.
Aye.
Representative Angelos.
Aye.
Representative Haroldson.
Aye.
Representative Pendergraft.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Representative Smith. With your permission, I'll leave that open as well.
Yeah, Representative Smith, you are muted. Please proceed, Ms. Vaughn.
Co-Chairman Salazar.
Aye.
Chairman Bear.
Aye.
You currently have 10 aye and 2 open.
Okay, we're gonna leave that open towards till close to the end of the meeting, and then we'll complete that vote on that bill at that time. Without objection from my co-chair.
Mr. Chairman, question.
Go ahead.
Is there a copy available online for that folks can get to access this? Because on the meeting other material stuff usually it's highlighted. It's not. So I'm getting some email or some text saying is there a copy available for the public? Could you help me with that?
Sure, great question. Director Richards, can you help us with that?
Mr. Chairman, the three bills, as mentioned earlier, were in the process of being worked, so we had not made any of those three bills public. At your directions, we can make any of those three or all of those three available.
You can
Or
go
we
ahead.
can make them, they will be numbered this weekend and be posted under a different portion of the website.
Mr. Chairman, given the fact that these two bills are going to go to committees and they're going to be heard, and then public testimony will be taken on both those bills when they hit, in this case, the House Committee, House Appropriations, as long as they get posted this weekend, I don't think that's a big problem because we were just going through those technical corrections, if that's okay.
I agree with that, Senator. So we'll let the staff have till this weekend to get that posted.
Thank you.
But thank you for bringing it up, Senator. Okay. Director Richards, we're ready to move to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is 26 LSO 0434, Working Draft 0.4, State-Funded Capital Construction. And as an introduction to this bill, the Joint Appropriations Committee, during its action taken in January, moved all state capital construction projects to a separate bill from the governor's recommendation. Second, the Joint Appropriations Committee changed the funding for all state previously funded from the SIPA account pursuant to the governor's recommendation to the general fund. This comes in the amount of $332,141,925. And then third, you authorized local revenue for all community college projects in the form of PR, which is the legislative term for private revenue, in the amount of $59,228,129. Last, you added a section which I will speak to a little bit later, section 3 and 4 of the bill. Section 3 moved the entirety of major maintenance funding, which is typically in the budget bill, to the state capital construction funding. And then section 4, you moved a budget balancer, or in case there is insufficient funds in the general fund, that the LSRA be used for those purposes. Otherwise, there are no changes in the amounts or the projects from the governor's recommendations at this time. I'll proceed, because you have not seen this bill before, I'll proceed rather quickly through the contents of this bill. Pages 1, 2, and the top of page 3 are all definitions. I would note on page 2, lines 13 through 16, provide for definitions of two funds, special revenue and other funds identified by footnote, which are currently not used in the bill, but are placeholders for other opportunities. We also included our standard template language regarding the maximum amount for each project, excluding any contingency funding, and this appropriation shall not be considered an entitlement or guaranteed amount. Finally, the next section of the bill are each of the individual projects as outlined on page 4. I won't go through each of the projects, but I did want to touch on the footnotes. Footnote number 1 refers to the expected level 1 and level 2 expenditures that will be taken. In paragraph B, which appears on page 5, line 4, it provides that the State Building Commission could pursue other level 1, level 2, or master planning projects, studies, if there are leftover funds from those priority topics 1 through 4. Footnote number 2, which begins on page 10, allows the Department of State Construction to procure an owner's rep This was used, or this process was used in some of the other large capital construction projects that the state has recently undergone, and the State Construction Department requested this opportunity as well, and the committee concurred. Footnote number 3 is a bit of an unusual footnote. This relates to the veterans home, and should federal funds be received, they are deposited into the LSRA, or the Legislative Stabilization account, to the extent expended or general funds have already been expended. If general funds have not yet been expended, let's say we get the federal funds next week, then the appropriation on page 4 is reduced dollar for dollar, and any federal funds would be then expended for the construction of that project. On page 3, page 7, the major maintenance funding is moved. This was historically been in section 308 of the budget bill. This year is somewhat different. There is a 2.5% replacement cost. Last year, for example, this is the executive branch and the legislature approved a 2% replacement cost as opposed to a 2.5% replacement cost. The total amount is $232.979 million. And then in the subsequent paragraphs, you will see how that is distributed among the State Construction Department, the State Parks and Cultural Resources, which was specifically requested by the executive branch so that they can reduce the number of B11s. The University of Wyoming appears in paragraph 3 on page 8, and the community colleges in paragraph 4, each receiving their percentage share as requested in the budget requests of the governor. Finally, your motion included, if general funds are not available, use LSRA funds. That intent of that motion is incorporated in section 4. However, I will pause here and say that upon writing this, it is an unusual amount of money, $332 million. And if the executive branch or future governor during the biennium elected to use LSRA funds, they could make a recommendation either in the supplemental budget or in next biennium's, the 29-30 biennium, for effective immediate funds up to $332 million. And that would not violate the limitations that are currently in statute on what a governor could or could not use funds for. If the committee so chose, you could certainly leave this in. I just wanted you to be aware of the potential consequences of it. An alternative, and I have some similar comments, would be to address any budget balancer in the text of a budget bill one time rather than having two potentially competing sections that both attempt to provide additional funds if revenue forecasts fall short. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Right. Director Richards, I am gathering it would be prudent for us to remove this budget balancer item and leave that in the budget, which is what's more common practice. So with that, I'll take questions for the director. Seeing none. Are there any motions?
Do you want,
Mr. Chairman?
go ahead.
I couldn't tell who spoke there.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Harrelson.
Go ahead, Representative Peralson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we would correct this budget balancer and eliminate this potential discrepancy that we're seeing.
Okay, very good. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Grew. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Harrelson's motion to strike this budget balancer discussing the LSRA as a backup fund, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other motions on the bill? Okay, everybody understands we're doing things slightly differently with major maintenance, giving this bill a great deal of importance that it makes it through the system. Okay, very good. All right, with that, I'll ask Ms. Vaughn, will you please take the roll on 26 LSO 434 draft .4?
Yes, sir. 26 LSO 0434 as amended. Senator Driscoll.
Aye.
Senator French. We'll leave that open.
Thank you.
Senator Guru.
Aye.
Senator Larson.
Aye.
Representative Alleman.
Aye.
Representative Angelos.
Aye.
Representative Haroldson.
Aye.
Representative Pendergraph.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Representative Smith.
Aye.
Co-Chairman Salazar.
Aye.
Chairman Bear.
Aye.
You have 11 aye.
Okay, we'll keep that open for Senator French. And if we could just go ahead and gather Representative Alman's vote on the Rural Health Transformation Fund bill.
Mr. Chairman, I believe I do have written for Representative Smith on the prior bill as an aye.
I'm looking for Representative Alaman to register his vote on that previous bill.
Aye.
Is that sufficient, Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
Do you want
so,
this to be a House or Senate bill?
This is the capital construction, state capital construction, and without objection from co-chair, we'll make this a House bill.
Thank you.
So the only votes we're missing right now are Senator French on both of those bills. Is that right, Ms.
That
Vaughn?
is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And I believe he is working with IT now. If I'm unable to get his through the meeting, I will reach out to him individually.
Please keep me informed. Thank you. Director Richards, would you please proceed?
Mr. Chairman, the third item on your agenda is 26 LSO 0435, Committee Formal Draft 1.1. Yes. Mr. Chairman, I did want to provide a little bit of history and some summary information on this to kind of preface my comments. First of all, this is the first time you've seen this, and we wanted to ensure that we captured the intent of your conceptual motions, hundreds of them over the course of a week in January. In this bill, the legislature, JAC, reduced the governor's recommendations by $314.4 million. Now, much of that reduction is being offset by the generally funded, as opposed to school SIPA funded capital construction, which you've just approved in the other bill in the amount of $337.1 million, leaving a difference of 17.7 million more general funds between those two bills. Of course, the Joint Appropriations Committee saved the $337 million in SIPA funding. Next, pursuant to your past action, you have saved $81.9 million in federal funds, and you've also saved $29 million in other revenues. However, the other revenues are a little bit subject to interpretation. So let me mention the two big issues there. Number one, in the capital construction bill, the governor technically did not approve private revenue for the community college projects, but he did approve those projects, just with the notion that the state government is not necessary to include strict appropriations. Offsetting that, the governor also did not, or did recommend excluding liquor profits, or excuse me, the general fund appropriation. He did recommend being deposited, the funds, liquor profits being deposited in the general fund, And the Joint Appropriations Committee had the same intent, but did that narratively as opposed to in the text of the table. So those are about offsetting, but I wanted to bring those two oddities to your attention. The Joint Appropriations Committee also reduced 21 FTE in the text of this bill. The JAC reduced 24 AWEC positions, but you added 14 part-time positions. Those 14 part-time positions are really just a reclassification of AWEC positions in the Office of State Land are eligible for all of the array of benefits which you've been discussing, in particular retirement. I will also, as a kind of a preference, indicate that your global motion regarding TRP, or the Technology Replacement Program for software and hardware, saved $3.3 million of general funds, $609,000 of other funds, and $182,000 of federal funds for a total of $4.1 million. I will not be speaking to each agency, but certainly in your status report, which we've shared with you, you can see the impacts by each agency of those technology reductions. With this, Mr. Chairman, my intention is to walk through the bill rather quickly, highlighting primarily the narrative, because those are the areas where we could may have missed the intention of the committee. And I would pause after each agency if there are questions, concerns, or potentially even a motion to revise staff's interpretation of your action. Is that acceptable?
That would be acceptable. Are there any questions from the committee for the director at this time? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, pages 1, 2, and 3 are all definitions. They are primarily defining the funds named used in this legislation. Importantly, on page 2, line 7, we define appropriation. And then on page 4, line 13, we define the term this appropriation. This is important when interpreting what the footnote means. Section 2, which appears on page 4, lines 17 through 23, indicates that the appropriations in this legislation are for the upcoming biennium unless otherwise specified, and there are a limited number of instances where the Joint Appropriations Committee has allowed an agency to spend for a few years beyond the specific biennium. Section 1, the Office of the Governor, appears on page 5. You took a number of actions, including a reduction of the customer relation management software for $100,000, a reduction of general funds of $1 million for FNRPA, and you moved two important provisions to sections 303A and 303B at the end of the bill, which allow this agency to carry over wild horse and burrow funding and disaster contingency funding. Footnote number 1 at the bottom of the page added by JAC $250,000 for transition expenditures in the event there is a change in governor. Page 6, line 9 provides for footnote number 2. This appears 3 times in the budget bill, and you are authorizing the continuation of at-will employee contract positions that are supported by ARPA funds, or the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The later of December 31st, 2026, the date of completion of any federally required reporting audits, or the date of any extension of the federal funding which Congress may approve. Footnote number 3 is a technical point which the committee did approve. It allows the FNRPA appropriations to be deposited and spent from that account. Paragraphs 1 and 2, which appear on page 7, provide the expectations for the expenditures related to those FNRPA funds. Footnote number 4 provides one-time funding, which was requested in Governor's letter for the Asia Pacific trade. This amount is $400,000, but the purpose of the footnote is to ensure the funds are one-time. I'll pause if there are any questions on Agency 1.
Are there any questions on agency number 1? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency number 2, the Secretary of State, you reduced this agency by a net of $148,000. 2 large activities here, you added $125,000 for the ballot initiative, and you reduced 1 FTE and $168,000. There is one amendment here, or one footnote, excuse me. It appears on page 8, begins on line 6, for $125,000 for the publication costs required by statute relative to the ballot proposition. As a heads up, we would expect a potential for a footnote 2 to be included on one chamber or the other during the markup process to include the costs of any joint resolutions that may be offered and likely to be added to the 2026 ballot initiative. With that, my comments are concluded on agency number 2.
Are there any questions on agency number 2? Director Richards, the any bill that would have a resolution that would be on the ballot, that funding, would that be for that would show up here in this section? Would that be just for the notification, or would that also be for the cost of putting that on the ballot at each county level?
Mr. Chairman, it is really the cost of the appearance on the ballot, but primarily it is the publication costs associated with the statewide, usually it's through a newspaper, for those ballot initiatives to be, and joint resolutions to be listed in a publicly available paper.
So notification. Thank you.
Notification, yes.
Senator Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there were any other constitutional amendments, anything else that came up during the session in individual bills, they would probably have a allocation for funds for the secretary for that purpose, and then it would just go through the regular process, come to appropriations for the appropriations part, and then move forward. Is that, we don't have to anticipate anything else now, Don?
Mr. Chairman, you do not have to anticipate anything. However, about 25 years ago, there was a discussion between the Secretary of State at the time and LSO. Previously, there was an attempt to put the actual costs of publication on each of the joint resolutions. That practice has ceased for a number of reasons, because there's a question of whether or not it opens them to veto. It also may have more than one topic on the joint resolution itself. So it has been LSO's guidance to include the appropriations in the budget bill as opposed to in the resolution itself. And so we expect, a handful of appropriations might be considered. So what we would typically do is include the publication costs for any of those that pass the 2/3 threshold in one house or the other. And then during joint conference committee, you can kind of gauge whether or not those potential constitutional amendments could be adopted or enacted into by the legislature and have money for them in the budget bill.
Thank you.
And Director Richards, that would probably also have a caveat that those funds would be available if it passes. Is that a correct interpretation how we would go about that if the joint conference committee is looking to wrap up prior to the final action on those bills?
Mr. Chairman, you're exactly correct.
Okay. Any other further questions on Agency 2? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency number 3, the state auditor, appears on page 8, line 16. There were 2 major issues that the Joint Appropriations Committee adopted here. First, JAC reduced $2.1 million for game and fish free and reduced licenses. And you also moved $2.188 million to Section 304B for retiree health insurance for pre-2008 retirees. No footnotes in this agency.
Any questions or comments on this agency? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on the state treasurer's office, other than TRP, you reduced $320,000 in special revenue for an investment in due diligence, and you added a number of footnotes. Footnote 1 appears on the bottom of page 9, and it is mirrored with the Wyoming retirement system and does allow 3 position classifications to be flexed for purposes of their salary. Those positions would be the analyst, senior analyst, and investment officer. Footnote number 2 provides an annual public accounting of administrative fees for the external investment managers. This is also a carryover from prior footnote. And footnote number 3 was requested by the agency and provides $128,000 be effective immediate. This is for purposes of payments to counties for the Native American tax exemption. That concludes my comments on Agency 4.
Senator French. You are muted, Senator French. You can try your space bar. You'll have to hold it down. We are still not getting any audio from you. Okay. If you want to send your question to one of the other members, we'll try to get it asked. Okay. Further questions? I'm going to assume that that symbol means you're okay. All right. Director Richards, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, just one more time, Senator French, if you could try one more time verbalizing your question. No, I apologize.
No worries. We'll keep working at that. And if you can get to where you're communicating with us via text, that would be helpful. Director Richards, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, in Agency 6, the Administration and Information Department, you moved $350,000 request. Any remaining funds up to, I believe it was $207,000 to Section 303C for purposes of weekend capital activities or celebration, or special events, I should say. The agency also, or the JAC also reduced compensation for trades by $500,000, leaving $512,000. You reduced key management software on the order of $200,000, as well as $182,000 for Cheyenne stormwater fees. The largest reduction that appeared in this agency was for $111,789,000, which would have moved state agency employees and higher education employees to the 2024 market tables. The footnotes in this agency include footnote number 1 on page 11, which provided $5.2 million for the first year of vehicle replacements. These funds are appropriated out of IS, which is the acronym for the Internal Service Funds. These are essentially the vehicle rental fees by agencies that are deposited into that fund. Footnote number 2 is for $512,000 and specifies this is for the trades compensation and is not effective if there is compensation adjustments up to but not to exceed the 2024 market pay tables in other legislation or within an amendment to the budget bill. That concludes my comments on Agency 6.
Are there any comments or questions on Agency 6? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency 7 included only TRP reductions. The JAC also added, at the agency's request, continuation of footnote 1 and 2. Footnote 1 provides 9 full-time employees if there are sufficient federal funds available for the Air Guard. Footnote 2 provides 13 full-time employees if federal funds are available for the Army Guard. That concludes my comments on Agency 7.
Are there any questions, comments on Agency 7? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency 8 is the Office of Public Defender. The only reductions that or additions that the Joint Appropriations Committee made related to technology replacement. JAC did add footnote number 1, which is a continued footnote from prior years. This allows for what I refer to as mini flex, or the ability of agencies to use contract labor for cases in the event that full-time or part-time employee positions, the public defenders themselves, cannot be filled or due to their workload.
Okay. Any questions on Agency 8? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency 10 appears on page 15, the Department of Agriculture. Importantly, you added $300,000 for ag in the classroom, and you denied the request for 2 FTEs and $296,000 for a ground specialist and maintenance operations support at the state fair. There are 3 footnotes related to this. Agency footnote number 1 appears on the top of page 16, and it provides the legislative direction for the $300,000 appropriated for ag in the classroom. Footnote number 2 provides $50,000 for purposes of wolf depredation. This was reduced from prior years, but it is a carryover narrative from prior years. And finally, footnote number 3 provides for $1.6 million appropriation. This is not new money, but provides for expenditure to avoid an ESA listing. That concludes my comments on Agency 10, Department of Agriculture.
Are there any questions on Agency 10, Department of Agriculture? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, 2 items to discuss on Agency 11, the Department of Revenue. On line 10, you reduced the appropriation of $42 million for the liquor profits, but added language, and language was unnecessary, excuse me, on that one. It will automatically flow to the general fund pursuant to existing statute. Footnote number 1 specified that the $12 million appropriated in general funds is for 1 year of property tax relief, specifically for payments made beginning July 1, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2026. And then finally, on footnote number 2, this is to effectuate the governor's recommendation. This provides a language in the nature of a continuing appropriation for administrative expenses and, frankly, purchases of alcohol for distribution statewide by the Liquor Division. And just a bit of a plug here, to avoid use of this footnote in perpetuity, this would be an opportunity for legislation at some future point.
And Director Richards, our actions so far would not eliminate the need for this. It would take legislation to eliminate the need for this as far as removing those purchases and expenditures from the budget.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. It would require essentially a 1-line bill to allow this to be the standard practice. Otherwise, it would require every 2 years in the budget a similar footnote.
Director Richards, without objection from my co-chair, I would like you to remind us when we get ready to work on interim topics to include this. Okay, any questions on Agency 11 Revenue, Department of Revenue? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency 14, Miners Hospital, had no changes other than a reduction in technology replacement.
Any questions or comments on Agency 14, Miners Hospital? Seeing none, please proceed.
Agency 15, the Attorney General, JAC reduced 1 FTE and $370,000. You also added $3 million for ICACs, or the Internet Crimes Against Children team. You also declined to approve $500,000 of general funds for disaster relief. Moving to page 19 on footnote number 1, This is a continuation of a prior footnote, which allows the agency to use $43,000 of existing general fund appropriation to pay for state bar dues for their employees. Footnote number 2, at the agency's request, provides for $167,000 to be effective immediate. This was for the purchase of vehicles within DCI. Footnote number 3 is the language that effectuates the $3 million increase for ICAC, or Internet Crimes Against Children.
Are there any questions or comments on Agency 15, Attorney General? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll pause here so you can hear a few other voices on our team and turn it over to Polly Scott, if acceptable.
That is acceptable. Thank you, Ms. Scott. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be picking up with Section 20, the Department of Environmental Quality. The JAC did 3 major changes in this budget. First of all, the denied $500,000 special revenue for modeling equipment. Also adopted the agency's request to withdraw $75,000 general fund for a new vehicle. And the JAC also denied $1.1 million general fund that was requested to change the funding source for certain personnel. There were no footnotes on this agency.
Are there any questions on Agency 20, Department of Environmental Quality? Seeing none, Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to Section 21, Department of Audit, which is also on page 21 of your budget bill. The JAC had one major change on this budget. They denied $546,000 special revenue and 3 FTE. There were no footnotes on this agency.
Are there any questions on Agency 21, Department of Audit? Seeing none, Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 23, the Public Service Commission, on page 22 of your budget bill. The JAC had one major change where they denied $600,000 special revenue for the replacement of a docket management system. The JAC also adopted Governor's Letter number 6, which added 1 FTE position as well as $482,000 special revenue.
All right. Are there any questions on Agency 23, Public Service Commission? Seeing none, Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to Section 24 of your budget bill for state parks and cultural resources. This is on page 22 of your budget bill. The JAC had, other than TRP, of course, the JAC had 3 major actions in the Cultural Resources Division, which was to add $120,000 general fund and footnote number 1 for the We the People program. And that footnote does specify that this is to be included in the standard budget for the next biennium. Then also the JAC reduced the Cultural Resources Division standard budget by $5,000, leaving $5,000 general fund for the Wyoming Centennial Farm and Ranch program, and added footnote number 2 to tie that out to that appropriation.
Okay.
And then on the State Parks and Historical Sites Division, the JAC decreased the governor's recommendation by $49,000 general fund for trails program equipment. And those are the changes on that section.
Okay, are there any questions on Section 24, Agency 24, State Parks and Cultural Resources? Seeing
Mr.
none,
Chairman,
go ahead, Director.
I just wanted to bring to your attention that the footnote number 2, this was really just a staff error. The JAC did discuss, this is the Centennial Farm and Ranch and the sign and potential recognition that those programs or farms and ranches receive. It was reduced to $5,000, and that was the context of the discussion. But we wanted to make sure in our totals, we had actually added 5,000. I think it was just a staff error. It was your motion that reduced it to 5,000.
And can you remind the committee what the original number was that we reduced it from?
Mr. Chairman, this was for $10,000 and it was in their budget, standard budget already. And the footnote specified that that $10,000 be used for the Centennial Farm and Ranch Program. We wanted to make sure that the JAC concurred that this was not an increase of $5,000, but rather a reduction of $5,000.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? I think you've interpreted it correctly. So the landing spot would be 5,000. Okay, Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on with Section 27, the State Construction Department. And just a little bit of background here, the JAC moved some of the governor's recommended funding for construction projects out of this agency. So the first two SR notes that you have are pertaining to that. The governor moved about $445.7 million into the state-funded capital construction bill that you went over, and then also $391 million into the K-12 construction and major maintenance bill. What's here in this agency is really the funding necessary for the state construction department to operate as its own entity, not for construction projects. The JAC had three changes to this budget. They denied $371,000 S5 or SFP funding and 1 FTE. Also denied 2.8 and the associated TRP was denied along with that. And then the JAC adopted a technical correction just to fix a revenue code and shifted $78,921 from general fund to S5. And there were no footnotes on this agency.
Are there any questions on Agency 27, State Construction Department? Okay, thank you, Senator French. I was concerned we didn't have you there. Appreciate that. Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Section 29, the Wyoming Water Development Office. There were no exceptions of requests from this agency, so the JAC approved the standard budget as recommended by the governor.
Are there any questions on Agency 29, Wyoming Water Development Office? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you. Section 37, the state engineer on page 24 of your budget bill. The JAC had one primary change to this budget, which was to reduce the standard budget for the Board of Control by 17.1 million S1 or Water 1 and added 17.1 general fund.
Okay, thank you for leading the charge on that, Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Senator Larson.
I probably need to bring this up. I don't want to, but we did miss some small dollar amounts that were coming out of Water 1 for Board of Control issues, and I don't know if the committee would would they entertain a motion on that or discussion?
This is the time. I will we'll go ahead and I think before we take a vote on opening this agency, I'd like you to describe better what it is that you've run into.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in administration, there's the 60,439 that comes out of Water 1, and that was specifically this covers a portion of the compensation for both the state engineer, approximately 11.2% of his position, and the chief fiscal officer, 2.7% of that position. And those were they were dealing with Board of Control. I think they ought to come out of the general fund is my position.
Okay. I don't think you'll find any argument from this committee here. The only question is whether we want to deal with that on the floor or whether we want to deal with it here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, there was another part to that.
Okay, please proceed.
There was $118,784, and that was for Interstate Streams Division, Upper Colorado River Endangered Fish Recovery Program. And Wyoming committed to providing this annual funding in 1988 when Governor Sullivan executed the program's cooperation agreement. And it's continued use and development of water in the Green River and Little Snake River basins without interruption by Endangered Species Act consultations. So it also was coming out of Water One.
All right, Senator Larson, can you give us a grand total of your motion?
Oh boy, I did not add that up.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a vote real quick so we can keep moving on. All those in favor of opening section 37, State Engineer, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Larson,
I think that totals 179,223.
do you want to bring your motion now?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we change line 10 on the 60,439 from S1 to general funds. And on line 16, change the 118,784 from S1 to general funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I think that was Representative Harrelson. Is that correct? Seconded. Okay, any discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, the two of you there in the committee room, it's difficult for me, so please be loud and proud when you speak. All right. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion brought by Senator Larson, seconded by Representative Harrelson to move these funds from S1 to general. Senator Guru, do you have a comment?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Neither for nor against. I'm just making a comment. As we go through this, and I don't know where the tip point is, and I know we'll never hear it from our staff, but a cautionary note here that the reason why we're going through this today is so to take care of technical corrections. So everyone that is above and beyond a technical correction means the staff's going to have to do a rewrite. Now, this is a small one, and I'm not, like I say, I'm not speaking for or against, but I am saying if we get to a point, you know, one of the things that we've kind of tried to do at JAC the last few biennium is to make sure that when all the members get to the floor on Monday, that there's a budget on their desk. We need to be mindful of the fact that if we take this too far today, that will put that in danger. And then when the members get to the floor, it won't be on their desk. And that's the way it used to be. Frankly, there were times when you went through the full discussion of the budget without the members having the budget. That's why nobody liked JAC for a long time, because frankly, they did it on purpose. And so I'm just saying neither for nor against this motion, but a cautionary note. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Guru, I really appreciate that comment, and that is exactly why we've made an effort not to do the customary practice of a round robin as well. So we've done a lot to try and make this much more transparent, and I appreciate your comment because that is exactly what we're attempting to do by limiting as best we can these motions. So much appreciated. And the historical perspective is very helpful. All right. With no further comments or questions, we'll go ahead and take the vote. The motion is brought by Senator Larson, seconded by Representative Harrelson. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other motions on section 37, state engineer? Seeing none, we'll close section 37, state engineer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. So that is closed. Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll pick up with Agency 39, the Wildlife Natural Resource Trust, or WNRT. It's on page 25 of your budget bill. And the JAC had two primary actions, which was to reduce the governor's rec for $11 million general fund for invasive annual grasses by $3 million, and then reduce the governor's recommendation of 29.4 million general fund by 10 million, and that was for wildfire recovery. So in your SR, you see a reduction of 13 million. And the JAC added a footnote for each one of those. The footnote 1 is on page 25. And what that footnote does is it first appropriates the remaining $8 million to the WNRT income fund, then continuously appropriates that to the WNRT board for grants for invasive grasses, prevention of the spread of invasive grass plants and grasses, and also allows for the flexibility for it to also be for wildfire prevention measures. And finally, makes this money not subject to the requirements of the WNRT Funding Act. And then footnote number 2, structured very similarly, but pertaining to the wildfire recovery. And it also, on that footnote number 2, it makes that 19.4 million effective immediately.
Are there any questions or comments on, sorry, trying to get back here.
Mr.
Section
Chairman,
39, Wildlife Natural Trust. Ms. Scott?
yes, Mr. Chairman, just one more thing on section 39. The JAC did adopt a technical correction to fix a revenue source code.
I think everybody's aware of that. If you're not, please raise your hand. Okay, I think we're good on that. Thank you for that comment, Ms. Scott.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can go on to section 41.
Just
Fire.
let me ask here, are there any other questions on section 39, Wildlife Natural Trust? Seeing none, please proceed, Ms. Scott.
Okay, section 41, fire prevention and electrical safety on 26 of your budget bill. This agency had only TRP reductions and no footnotes.
Okay, are there any questions on section 41, fire prevention and electrical safety? Seeing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 42, geological survey on page 27 of your budget bill. The JAC added $2 million general fund for aerial surveys and added footnote number 1 to specify that appropriations intent, and also to make it so that is not to be included in the standard budget.
Okay, and I think we have a matching funds on there as well, do we not?
Yes, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions on Geological Survey, Agency 42? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the next agency is section 44 on 28 of your budget bill, the insurance department. There were no changes, actually no exception requests, no changes, no footnotes on this agency.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on Agency 44, Insurance Department? Seeing none, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next agency is section 45, Department of Transportation. It's on page 28 of your budget bill. And the JAC, first off, added $5 million general fund and footnote number 1 pertaining to increased compensation for highway maintenance personnel and highway patrol personnel.
Ms. Scott, I think we specified general funds as the bill is written right now. Director Richards, could you opine on what alternatives to that general fund methodology would be?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. You could use S7, which is the highway fund, and you can see on page 28 and 29, the majority of funding for this agency does come out of the highway fund, including all compensation for law enforcement personnel, as well as snowplow or maintenance personnel. Certainly acceptable to use $5 million of general fund. And if you used highway funds instead, you could expect a commensurate reduction in funds available for highway construction or maintenance.
I would entertain a motion if anyone feels so inclined.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Harrelson?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to change this funding source from general funds to S7 funds
Okay.
to align with current practice for funding these positions.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Angelos. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In light of the comments from the Department of Transportation, I'm just wondering how much that affects the difficulty that they've already had. They're claiming a budget shortfall of hundreds of millions of dollars. Is this significant? Just a question.
Senator Guru?
On and against, answer 7 million. Or 5 million, whatever the number is. It's just that much less on for roads.
5 million. Yeah. I'll remind the committee that the bill was passed last year to increase the funding for this department via sales tax on vehicles, which they should see those funds start to come in this year. And I think it's between 60 and $70 million per year. I think one of the reasons this would be a good idea is just to not have different sources of funding for the same thing. I think this is really more of an accounting cleanup if I had to make a suggestion. So further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Harrelson's motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, I see 4 noes. I have Salazar, Sherwood, Guru, and French. 5 with Senator Driscoll. Did I get everybody? Okay, motion carries on a 7-5 vote. Thank you very much. Are there any other motions on this particular agency? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote to close this agency. All those in favor of closing agency 45. Let me pause a moment here. Ms. Scott, did you have any other comments on this agency before we go on?
Mr. Chairman, yes, I do. I'd like to walk through the remaining footnotes. If
Why
that
don't
would
you
be
please proceed with that and we'll close this out with a vote when you're done.
okay. Just moving on to footnote number 2, which is on page 31, line 5. This is a footnote making $267,214 S7 one time, and that's for tasers. The JAC added that footnote. Then footnote number 3 is making biennializing $36,444 S7 for maintenance contracts. Then footnote 4, the JAC added this $523,277 for purposes of Capitol Complex security. And then footnote number 6, which is on page 32, starting on line 18, is to define the SO as the Transportation Enterprise Fund. And those are the changes that the JAC made to this budget.
Any questions or comments on agency 45? Department of Transportation? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing Agency 45, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Scott, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we'll move to Elizabeth Martineau on Agency 48. And as just as a cleanup, footnote number 5, I think, was skipped, which provided direction to the Department of Transportation to either ground one state-owned jet or sell the same.
Mr. Chairman, Elizabeth Martineau with LSO. I am going to be speaking to Section 48, the Department of Health. It is quite a big agency. As the highlights, and then we'll walk through the footnotes, JAC added $10.9 million for the Emergency Care Committee, ARPA rate, and the provider rates. Also, JAC added $9 million for the waitlist reduction. And the other big action that JAC took was to move the $344 million to the Rural Health Transformation Bill you discussed earlier. JAC, for the most part, denied the increases in this agency. Moving on to page 33, footnote number 1, beginning on line 22. This is a footnote that says that the Department of Health shall spend none of its funds for abortions or gender transition services. Continuing to page 34, footnote number 2, beginning on line 14, is a nursing compensation pilot program. It has $1.89 million general fund to be at a institution of the department's choice, one of the 5 that we have as state-owned facilities. This also has that provision that if there is anything done to the 2024 market pay tables, this would not be a duplication. Moving on to page 35, we have footnote number 3 on line 19. This is making that Social Security Act amount as low as possible without jeopardizing existing funding. Moving on to page 36, at the top of the page on line 2. Footnote number 4 is this work from the JAC interim. This is your $10.9 million, specifically calling out that $5.4 million general fund and $5.4 million federal fund will be used for those provider rates. Moving on to footnote number 5 on page 36, line 11. This is $9 million, $4.5 million general fund, and $4.5 million federal funds to reduce that wait list down to at least 50%. Based on the December 31st count. Moving on to footnote number 6, this is making $952,000 tobacco trust funds effective immediate in the Public Health Division. Moving on to page 37, footnote 7 on line 1. This is Joint Judiciary submitted a letter to the Joint Appropriations Committee to consider adding $5 million for the criminal pretrial detainees for those individuals who are awaiting certain services such as mental health evaluations or determination of their fitness to proceed to criminal case. Finally, you have footnote number 8 beginning on line 7. This is again $9.5 million of tobacco trust funds in the Behavioral Health Division effective immediate. And that concludes section 48.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on Agency 48, Department of Health?
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move to open Agency 48, Department of Health, in order to amend Unit 471 dealing with the Indian Health Services.
And the nature of your amendment?
We received an updated revised estimate from the Department of Health recently. The original ask was $58 million. This ask is for $41,327,307. Essentially, what has happened is they have corrected their estimate of the inflation rate from 10% down to 3%. And I believe that that's appropriate, and we need to make these federal funds available to the department.
Okay, and that was seconded by Senator Larson. Any discussion? Okay, we're going to go ahead and vote to open this section. All those in favor of Representative Pendergraft's motion to open section 48, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please bring your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we add to Unit 471 the amount of $41,327,000 and $307 these are federal funds and that they would appropriately fund the Indian Health Services all-inclusive rate.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Salazar. Discussion? I just want to make a comment for the public. We had funded the base budget of 94 million for this particular issue. There's clear need for an increase. So this increase was at 60%. Now it's looking at about a 40% increase since the 2024 budget. And so that's what we're voting on, to add this $41 million. All right. All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Pendergraft's motion. Representative Pendergraft.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one other thing for the public's interest. In the past, we had some B11s as a process to move money into here. And in my view, that was a little bit less transparent than what we're trying to do here. And so now here we're making a better prediction of where we're going to be so that the money is discussed during committee and forecast and laid out there and ready, rather than having that done through a process that is not as transparent. So I think that's part of what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. All those in favor of Representative Pendergraft's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other comments or motions on Agency 48, Department of Health? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing Department 48, Department of Health, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'll pick it up for a few more here. The next agency is Agency 49, Department of Family Services. The JAC reduced general funds in the amount of $3.47 million for SNAP education, also known as Sensible Nutrition, reduced $1.76 million in general fund and federal funds for Sunbucks, and $3.145 general, $0.55 million in federal for IT modernization. There are two footnotes which appear on page 38, the first of which directs the agency to not expend any payments benefit payments intended for foster care youth, particularly Social Security survivor benefits, and to ensure those funds are available for those youth. Footnote number 2, biennialize the amount for SNAP administration. This current budget includes 21 months, and this is an expression of intent that the next biennium's budget will include 24 months of SNAP administration expenses. That concludes Agency 49.
Are there any questions, comments on Agency 49, the Department of Family Services? Seeing none, Director Richards, please proceed.
Next agency is Agency 51, the Livestock Board. Specifically, the JAC added $300,000 for metal ear tags, along with footnote number 1, is appropriated to purchase and make available those ear tags as an option for livestock producers. The JAC also agreed with the governor's letter to add 1 FTE, including a vet assistant as well as support costs. And that is noted in footnote number 2, which appears at the bottom of page 39, that those support costs in the amount of $131,000 are one time.
I'm trying to get there right now. Director, did we reference the statute for the choices on the ear tags? It looks like we do 11, 18, 117. Charlie, is that accurate?
That is correct, and that legislation was adopted last year. So we elected to bring in that citation to make it very clear that the acquisition of these metal ear tags was directly related to that change in session law and statute.
Very good. All right, any questions or comments on Section 51 Livestock Board? Seeing none, please proceed, Director Richards.
Mr. Chairman, just as a heads up, Everything seems to be operating well, but we are having internet stability issues in this room. So we hope our Zoom connection is not impacted, but just wanted to mention that. The next
Thank you.
agency is Agency 53, the Department of Workforce Services. Aside from TRP requests, the only change was at the agency's request, a reduction of 2 FTE and $900,000 of federal funds. We also, or the Joint Appropriations Committee added a footnote, basically correcting the agency's error to make $21,000 in enterprise funding not one time and rather make it ongoing.
Okay. Any questions on Agency 53, Department of Workforce Services? Seeing none, Director Richards, please proceed.
Agency 55, the Oil and Gas Conservation Commission received a reduction in TRP, and then the JAC added footnote number 1, specifying that the $316,000 was one time for major maintenance, that the agency could come forward with an exception request, but not a standard budget request. There were no other changes.
And that was a request of the agency, correct, Director?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that was a request of the agency. It was maybe uncertain as the budget was presented. It was presented in a one-time capital construction code, but it could have been interpreted either ongoing or one time, and JAC elected to interpret it as one time.
Right, this is the maintenance for that building. Yeah, okay. Any questions on Agency 55, Oil and Gas Commission? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency 57, the Wyoming Community College Commission, begins on the bottom of page 41 with the meat of this agency at the top of page 42. JAC added $750,450 general funds for a dual enrollment pilot project. You also added $1.5 million so that the colleges would avoid a decline in funding due to a decline in enrollment pursuant to statute. JAC added $7.5 million general fund for career technology, reduced general fund request for $3.6 million for Wyoming Public Television equipment, and $3 million in public television for the loss of federal funds. I do have a staff inquiry in the footnotes, but before we get to that, footnote number 1 specifies how the $750,450 for dual enrollment is intended, and preferences intended for individual students who are not eligible to participate in a school district agreement, but available to all, just preference to those. That the community college tracks some outcomes, and it is the intent that this is one time, but the results of this pilot project be reported back in their next biennial budget. Footnote number 2 specifies this $7.5 million for career technical education. I believe this was the Representative Haraldson amendment, and it was specified for those 2-year instruction programs. Footnote number 3, staff does have a question on. I also believe this was a Representative Haraldson amendment, although others were involved. Currently, there is $200,000 in the community college's standard budget for purposes of rodeo. We interpreted this to be $800,000 additional, or $100,000 additional per college, for a total of $1 million. However, after reviewing the tape several times, we're not 100% sure our interpretation was correct. So we might be wrong. I just wanted to bring that up, and let me finish footnotes 4 and 5 and see if we were wrong. Footnote 4 provides $5 million and specifies this is for the Wyoming Works program faculty grants. And footnote 5 provides $584,000 for the scholarships under Wyoming Works. And again, we do have that question on footnote 3, whether our interpretation was accurate.
Representative Haraldson, would you like to give us some clarification on your motion from last month?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Thank you guys for catching this. So my intention was $100,000 per college total. So the total would have been 800,000, not $1 million.
Okay. Director Richards, does that clear that up?
It does. We will make that correction. I'm not sure it requires a vote because it was unclear to us what was intended.
I'll just poll the committee. Was there anybody that misunderstood that and thought differently? Okay, I think we're all good with that. I want to make a comment here on this before we leave community colleges. It's come to my attention that the $7.5 million that we put for career technical education, that it's not necessarily the brightest thing to spread it out just as we do a normal distribution of funds like this, that maybe we should think about giving preference to those schools that are really already providing a lot of career technical education. So it's something to think about. It's not something I'm going to bring a motion today, but I'd like the committee to think about this for motions on the floor. And then my community college is strangely kind of left out of any of this funding because of the 4 mil self-taxing requirement. We don't tax at 4 mils. And so these funds aren't available. So just want the committee to think about that for possibly a floor amendment to make this available to all of the 8 community colleges, as well as maybe sending it out in a different manner than just based on their ADM. So just those thoughts wanted to share with the committee. Is there any other comments or questions on Agency 57 Community College Commission? Seeing none, Director Richards, please proceed.
The next agency is Agency 60. The Office of State Lands and Investments appears on the bottom of page 44 and the top of page 45. In addition to the TRP reductions, the JAC reduced 1 FTE as a business assistant, 1 FTE as a PIO, 1 entire fire module, and you added $390,000 general fund for hazard pay and $41.12 thousand general fund effective immediate to align the benefits with your separate legislation. Footnote number 1 is a carryover footnote from prior years, very similar to the military department in that it allows the agency to fund 1 AWEC if federal funds are available. Footnote number 2, which appears on page 46, specifies that $2.3 million is appropriated for this fire module. Footnote number 3 authorizes the part-time employees which are associated with the SEATS program as part-time. They were requested as AWEC positions, and this designation ensures that they are eligible for all of the benefits, including retirement, that the JAC has discussed over this summer. Footnote number 4 provided the $390,000 for paid leave and hazard pay, and I will get back to that issue. Our next inquiry by staff relates to footnote number 4. Footnote number 5 provided that $11.2 million in local MRG funding, S4, be made available only if there is a successful coal lease bonus sale by the federal government and the successful bidder makes payment. This is consistent with prior practice, although it's a new footnote. And footnote number 6 provides that any indirect costs from the federal government in addition to the current rate be deposited into the fire protection revolving account so that that increase can assist counties in their firefighting efforts. Returning to footnote number 4, we went back and forth on this one. I think we have misinterpreted the last sentence and made this appropriation shall not be effective unless House Bill 35 is enacted into law. House Bill 35 is your legislation, which provides the hazard pay authorization. I think if that fails, so I think it should read after revisiting this, maybe this appropriation shall be effective only if 2026 House Bill 35 is not enacted into law. Meaning if the bill fails, this
Yeah.
would provide the hazard pay.
I believe that was the intent of the committee. Is there any objection to that interpretation? We'll just be striking the word not, I think, is the way we correct that. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, I think I have to move the not from the appropriation to the not enacted into law.
Perfect. I don't think we need to take a vote on that. That was always our intent.
That concludes Agency 60.
Are there any other questions or comments on Agency 60 OSLI? Office of State Lands? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency 63 appears on page 47, line 11. There were no changes to the governor's residence by JAC.
Are there any questions or comments on Agency 63 Governor's Residence? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency number 66, the Wyoming Tourism Board. There are tourism funds later in the bill, but there were no changes other than reduction by TRP to the Tourism Board.
Great. Trying to catch up here. Are there any questions or concerns about Agency 66, Wyoming Tourism Board? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
The next agency is 67, the University of Wyoming. JAC reduced $1.698 million and added footnote number 2 related to defunding of the Wyoming public media. We reduced the state aid by $40 million and specified that no cuts be made by the College of Education or to the College of Education or College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Declined $6 million for athletic operations in the form of an exception request, as well as $285,000 for a clinical assistant in Casper Family Medical Practice. JAC reduced the matching funds requested by $12.5 million, but then added $2.5 million in matching funds specific to the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Walking through the footnotes adopted, footnote number 1, resurrected from prior years, limits the university's ability to expend any funds under its control for elective abortions or group health insurance, which provides elective abortions for students. Footnote number 2 specifies that no funds in this appropriation shall be expended on Wyoming public media. Footnote number 3 is the attempt to protect, our best language, to protect both the College of Agriculture, Life Sciences, and Natural Resources and the College of Education from any reduction in their funding levels adopted for fiscal year 26. That's the current operating budget for those two entities. Footnote number 4 appears on the top of page 50. And this provided $100,000 general fund in new money for an audit as well as a management consultant regarding the Center of Innovation for Flow through Porous Media and expenditures at the High Bay Research Facility at UW. Footnote number 5 directs the university to use a portion of this general fund appropriation to offer optional training for existing faculty and staff and mandatory orientation training for the entering students regarding the mission of a land-grant institution. Footnote number 6 provided $6 million is appropriated for CTE, but specified 2 conditions, specifically that UW explore both the costs of locating this on and off campus for the lowest cost and most efficient outcome, as well as to make any expenditures on teachers for providing instruction for CTE education teachers, and it's the intent that this is one time. Footnote number 7, I fear we have the same potential issue relative to the rodeo amendment based on the interpretation of the community colleges. The University of Wyoming had $200,000 in their standard budget specified for rodeos, and it is our question whether you added 200 or maintained that 200 to 400,000. So we'll look to Representative Haraldson and others for specification whether we put 200 too much in that footnote or not. And then footnote number 8 is the standard footnote for the $10 million of athletic matching funds, and it spills over on page 52 and the top of page 53. Before getting to footnote number 4, which provided $2.09 million for coal pyrolysis. This is effective immediate as requested by the School of Energy Resources. Footnote number 10 is SCR match in the amount of $10 million. This is standard matching language, and this is a SCR request. And finally, on page 54, footnote number 11 provided $2.5 million in matching funds specific to the College of Agriculture. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll pause and again remind the committee, we're not 100% sure we captured the intent on footnote 7.
Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I was who made the motion. It was an additional 200,000. We'd increased the community colleges, and I thought I'd made it pretty clear it was an increase to 200 to 400.
So a grand total of 400,000, Senator?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we are all on board with that, and without exception, I think we just direct LSO to continue forward with their current interpretation of 400,000. Is there any objection? Seeing none, Director, you've got that now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Harrelson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to open up footnote number 3 and add in the Worth Institute and the High Bay project to be excluded from cuts moving forward.
Okay. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Is that a second, Senator Grew?
just a quick, do we have to move to open?
Yeah. That's
So we're moving, so this motion is to open, and then we'll make a motion on the, okay.
yeah,
So-
I just want a description of what the
Right.
motion is, so
Okay.
we can have an informed vote on whether we want to open the University of Wyoming or not.
I'll second.
Second by Representative Pendergraft. Discussion on whether we open the University of Wyoming. Seeing none, all those in favor of opening the University of Wyoming, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Representative Harrelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at this time, I would make a motion to include the Worth Institute as well as the High Bay project to be added into the list of portions of the University of Wyoming not to be affected by the cut.
Okay. Any, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Representative Pendergraft. Senator Grew.
Yeah, question to the bringer of the motion. Why? I mean, we had a very, very vigorous discussion about this, and so I just want to make sure I understand what we're doing.
Mr. Chairman.
Representative Harrelson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So as one of the things that I'm afraid of and what I don't want to see happen is I don't want it to be a situation where we see disproportionate cuts going into certain areas of the university. This last week, as I was able to visit the university, I went into our Department of Ag, one of the areas that was already covered. And there at times there seems like there maybe has been in the past a little bit of this going on. When I walked into a 1950s building, and that definitely could use updating and could use extra. And then there's other areas of the school that seems like they get quite a bit more. And we've seen some discrepancies through the last couple of years, in my opinion, of maybe some funding going in different directions. And so I just want to make sure and protect these two areas that I feel are very much in line with the direction of the state and where we're wanting to go.
I would add to that comment, they're really in line with the land grant mission. Obviously, the Worth Institute supports our second largest industry and the largest that has a private employment, and that is the outdoor recreation and hospitality. So I think that's in line. Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you were just getting to that. For the public at home, we use so many acronyms. If the bringer could just clarify what WORTH stands for, that would be lovely. Thank you.
I'm guessing, I don't know, but I think it's Wyoming Outdoor Recreation, Tourism and Hospitality. Did I guess right? Not bad. Okay. Um, Thank you for the question. Senator Guru.
Yeah, just a comment, we take 40 million out of the block grant. And then we say now ag and education, and now the Worth Institute, and the high bay, they win. They're not going to get cut. So that means the 40 million that is to be cut is going to cut all the other departments more. So I know we talk a lot about not wanting to pick winners and losers, but here we're picking winners and we're penalizing the losers and penalizing them more. And each one we add, we cut everyone else more. So I just, I agree. I'm in the hospitality industry, and I'm a big fan of the Worth Institute. I'm a big fan of Muhammad's, big fan of the High Bay, big fan of what they do over there. I understand, but I'm a big fan of other pieces of the university as well. And as a matter of fact, when we were talking about the $40 million in cuts, it was brought up that classes that were offered at the Worth Institute was the reason why we were making the cuts. So I'm confused. I'm confused, Mr. Chairman, if I continue, I'm confused at how we're doing this. So like I say, I'm in favor of the motion, I guess, to a point, but then I'm going to have a motion right after it. So anyway, that's just, confusion reigns supreme here with regard to this motion. Thank you.
So
Mr.
just to
Chairman?
clarify, it was the Haub School that brought up the discussion. Haub School of Environmentalism. Representative Haroldson?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you answered. I just was going to make a clarification on the school that we had been talking about earlier.
Okay. Senator Driscoll? Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was a little the same. I asked the question in committee pretty bluntly: is shouldn't we be directing the cuts to what we want them to? And it seems to me we're doing it just the opposite. We're doing it by exclusion. We're going to protect our areas, and I can name 2 or 3 more the same way with me is, doing the research I did down there. Law school's doing a great job. School of Engineering is part of our core. I think we're being pretty willy-nilly. We're narrowing it down to where we're really, really going to cripple certain parts of the university and tie their hands. I think we're heading down a pretty scary path.
Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Harrelson's motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Director.
sorry. Only because this, the very next footnote addresses the high bay as well. And in the next footnote for the audit, it relates to both the high bay and the Center of Innovation for Flow through Porous Media. Those are technically 2 different entities. One is the structure and the other one is the program that funds what happens in that structure. And I just wanted clarification from the motion whether it is to protect both the high bay and that Center for Innovation Flow through Porous Media, or just the facility itself.
Representative Harrelson, you want to clarify?
Mr. Chairman, it would be both.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Harrelson's motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Senator Guru. Oh, you're muted, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to move that we restore the $40 million to the block grant.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Driscoll. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I might, once
Please.
again, I don't, and I appreciate Representative Harrelson's motion. And I agree with funding those. But once again, as Senator Driscoll was saying, whether it's the College of Engineering, the law school, You can run down the list. Once again, we're picking winners and losers, and I think I understand where the committee wants to go, and it wants to put more of a finger on this. But with this broad brush stroke, and now we're backfilling, I think we're missing it. So I would suggest that we put the 40 million back now, and then we engage and say this is something just like we did with DD waivers and with the firefighting, that we take this to the interim and say, let's have this discussion. Let's have a robust discussion about what we want to do with the university. But this ain't the way. And, we're going to throw this out on the floor, and people are going to make, I want to pick this one. I want to pick that one. And so once again, if we cut this 40, and then we start adding back the school we like, or the school that's got the best stroke, or the school that has somebody's phone number to be able to call and say, put this back. This ain't no way to do this. And so I say put the 40 million back right now. And that's the motion on and for.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senator Gru's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion fails. Any other motions in the University of Wyoming? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing University of Wyoming, Agency 67, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Director Richards, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the bottom of page 54 is the next agency, 69, the WICHE program. There are no footnotes and no JAC changes.
Are there any comments or motions on Agency 69? Seeing none, all those in, Director, please proceed.
At the top of page 55, Agency 70, the Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission. It has no footnotes. JAC did reduce the EORC's request for $152,000 for additional staff.
Is there any comments or questions on Agency 70, Enhanced Oil Recovery? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the next agency is 72, the Wyoming Retirement System. In addition to reductions to technology, the JAC reduced $408,000 of pension revenue for flex compensation, as well as reduced one FTE and $194,000 or $93,000 for a fourth investment analyst, and $100,000 for workflow management. There is one footnote, and this is a mirror footnote to the State Treasurer's Office, which allows flexibility for reclassification for investment analyst, senior analyst, and senior investment analyst to investment officer.
Okay, are there any questions, comments on Agency 72, Retirement System? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency 77 appears on the bottom of page 56. Enterprise Technology Services. In addition to TRP reduction, JAC reduced $3.4 million for the enterprise platform, $620,000 for a central citizen authenticator, $1.5 million in internal service funds for cloud services. And then you also provided the use of depreciation account up to $621,000 for those same cloud services, and reduced $1 million for computer network support services. Footnote number 1 makes the funding for a firewall effective immediate, as requested by the agency. Footnote number 2 ensures that if there are any federal grants available for compliance with the ADA website upgrade, that the general funds here be reduced dollar for dollar. Footnote number 3, as I previously stated, provided $621,000 for funding of the cloud services from the depreciation account. And that concludes my comments on Agency 77.
Are there any questions or comments on Agency 77, Enterprise Technology Services? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency 80 is the Department of Corrections that begins on page 58. There were no changes other than TRP. Almost all of the footnotes relate to funds being made available for effective immediately. That's specifically footnote number 2 for inmate housing, footnote number 3 for inflation, footnote number 4 for daily rate. Footnote number 4 is a separate issue. Footnote number 5 for per diem. Footnote number 6 for offender management. Footnote number 7 for adult community corrections. Footnote number 8 and 9 for the governor's inflation letter. Returning to footnote number 1, provided $500,000 for the continuation of department recruitment and retention efforts. And footnote number 4 provided $250,000 for the increased daily rates at county jails. Mr. Chairman, you also moved 2 vacant positions to the state building or state budget department.
State Budget Department. Okay. Any questions or comments on Agency 80, Department of Corrections? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
There were no JAC changes for Agency 81 at the bottom of page 60, the Board of Parole.
Are there any questions or concerns on Agency 81, Board of Parole? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, on page 61, Agency 85, the Wyoming Business Council, JAC denied the standard budget and all exception budgets and left $2 million with footnote number 1 specifying that these funds be administered by the State Budget Department to manage outstanding obligations, grants, loans, and administrative expenses. This should not be effective if, and we haven't got the number yet, Senate file, which you have previously approved, is enacted into law.
Okay. Is there any questions, concerns, comments on Agency 85, Wyoming Business Council? Seeing none, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, at the bottom of page 61, top of page 62, Agency number 90, Wyoming Energy Authority, has no JAC changes.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on Agency 90, Wyoming Energy Authority? I thought it was Wyoming Energy Authority. Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
On page 62, this is unusual. We think we've captured the motions correctly, but on page 62, line 9 is the Wyoming Stable Token Commission, Agency 91. You will see that there is no funding, general fund, federal funds, or otherwise. There is a footnote that authorizes the 6 AWEC positions for this agency, and all of the carryover funding appears in section 300D, and the ability to use investment income prior to the current process of providing a 2% cushion appears in section 319.
Okay. Did you want us to look at section 300D while we're here, or just address that when we get to it?
We'll address that when it appears.
Okay. Are there any questions or concerns about Agency 91, Stable Token Commission, Wyoming Stable Token Commission? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Agency 96, the Wyoming State Budget Department, appears at the bottom of page 62 and all of page 63. You added the 2 positions previously mentioned from the Department of Corrections. You denied the 2 requested from the governor's office, and you added a second 2 from the Wyoming Business Council. So net, the State Budget Department increased by 4 positions from their current amount and 2 positions from the governor's recommendation. You also added footnote number 1, which is the second time you've seen this footnote. Identical or nearly identical footnote appeared in the governor's office, which allows for the continuation of AWECs funded by ARPA funds.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns on Agency 96, Wyoming State Budget Department? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I'll turn this over to Elizabeth Martineau to finish up the rest of the agencies.
Mr. Chairman, we are going to start with Section 98, Office of Guardian Ad Litem on page 64. in this agency. The only change is that JAC added a footnote for the local share. The governor's recommendation was to move one position for financial accounting to the Department of Administration and Information, and the JAC just wanted to ensure that that local share would be accounted for as well with this footnote. That concludes my comments on Agency 98, Office of Guardian Ad Litem.
Any comments, questions, or concerns on Agency 98, Office of Guardian Ad Litem? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are on Section 101, the Supreme Court, on page 64. The JAC added footnote number 1, which is to provide the court with authorization to transfer $83,500 between its divisions, the district's courts in this case for aging copiers. JAC denied the court's recommendation to swap funding for the JSA positions and instead opted for the court's contingent recommendation of $1.25 million for the appellate case management system. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my comments on Section 101.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns with Agency 101 Supreme Court? It's not an agency, it's a branch. So branch 101 Supreme Court. Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 102, Board of Law Examiners can be found on page 65, going on to page 66. JAC reduced the court's recommendation of $25,000 to $23,000 for testing accommodations. And that concludes my comments on Section 102.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on Agency 102, Board of Law Examiners? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed to the next agency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 103, the Commission on Judicial Conduct and Ethics can be found on page 66. JAC added footnote number 1 to the governor's recommendation to limit the use of software to 1 year. That concludes my comments on Section 103.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on Agency 103, the Judicial Conduct and Ethics Commission? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to zoom us forward. Sections 120 through sections 146, which is page 66 through page 78 of your bill, is for the judicial districts, 1A all the way through 6D. There is only the standard budget and no other changes to any of these judicial districts.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on Agency 120 through 146, Judicial Districts 1A through 160? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are in Section 151 on page 78, District Attorney, Judicial District Number 1. There is only the governor's recommendation and TRP Global in this agency.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on Agency 151? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 157, District Attorney, Judicial District Number 7, as only governor's recommendations and the TRP Global. I would note that this is that addition of governor's recommendations for those positions are included here in the governor's rec.
Okay, I've gotten a little off track here trying to switch screens. Can you remind me, Ms. Martineau, what agency this is?
Section
Number?
157, District Attorney, Judicial District Number 7.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on Agency 157, District Attorney, District 7? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 79, we're in Section 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys. JAC did add $3 million general funds for compensation for county and prosecuting attorneys, and footnote 1 specifies how those funds are to be distributed. I would note it is an annual number instead of a biennial number.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, or comments on Agency 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 80, Section 205, Educational School Finance. This is the governor's recommendation only. That is inclusive of the superintendent's letter number 3 that had reductions in entitlement payments and special education.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on agency 205, education school finance? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 81, section 206 is the Department of Education. The JAC did deny the superintendent's letter for $30 million for the Steamboat Legacy Scholarship, pending some outstanding activity. JAC also added footnote number 1, which is for the Wyoming Charter School Board, School Authorizing Board, pardon me, position that was transferred, and has added that upon the vacancy of the next executive director of this board, then that position will be reclassified to a comparable amount with those other executive level positions in the agency. JAC also added footnote number 2, found on page 82, starting on line 10, which is for that state-funded farm to loan and grants program. It is a new $300,000. JAC also added on page 82, line 17, a new $50,000 for the meat processing of those donated poultry, lamb, pork, beef, or bisons for use in school meals. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks on Agency 206.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on agency 206, Department of Education? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on page 83, we are going to section 211, which is the Board of Equalization. This is governor's recommendation only.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on agency 211, Board of Equalization? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 220, Environmental Quality Council, is found on page 83. JAC did deny their request for 400 series increases, additional OAH referral cases, and cameras for a total of about $34,000. That concludes my remarks on 220.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on HC 220, Environmental Quality Council? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on page 84, section 270 is the Office of Administrative Hearings. JAC denied the governor's recommendation for specific software requests of about $8,000.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on agency 270, Office of Administrative Hearings? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on page 84, we start the boards and commissions. We start with section 12, which is the Board of Architects and Landscape Architects. This is standard budget only.
Any questions, concerns, or comments on board number 12? And this is the Board of Architects and Landscape Architects. Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, next we have section 16, which is the Board of Barber Examiners, and JAC did reduce the request for in-state travel by half to $3,000.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on agency 16, Board of Barber Examiners? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'm going to try to zoom us ahead just a little bit. Section 17, Board of Radiological Technologist Examiners, is the standard budget only. Section 18, Real Estate Commission, is TRP global reduction only. Section 19, Professional Teaching Standard Boards, was the Governor's Rec and TRP global only. Section 22, the Board of Respiratory Care, was the standard budget only. Section 28 on page 87, Board of Registration in Podiatry, was standard budget only. Section 30, Board of Chiropractic Examiners, was standard budget only. On page 88, Section 31, Collection Agency Board, was the standard budget only. Section 33, Board of Cosmetology, was the TRP global only. And page 89, Section 34, Board of Dental Examiners, is the standard budget only. Section 35, Board of Funeral Service Practitioners, standard budget only. Section 36, Board of Midwifery, standard budget only. Page 890, Section 38, Gaming Commission, we do have the governor's recommendation, TRP Global, and footnote number 1, which authorizes the breeder awards to continue in this biennium. And I'll pause there if there's any questions.
Okay, are there any questions on agencies 17, 18, 19, 22, 28, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 36, and 38? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Starting on page 90, Section 43, Dietitians Licensing Board is standard budget only. Section 46, Wyoming Combat Sports Commission is standard budget only. Section 52, the Board of Medicine, it is governor's recommendation and TRP only. However, you did add footnote number 1 to make the licensing software request effective immediate, and I can pause there in case there's any questions.
Are there any questions on agency 43, 46, and 52? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 54, Board of Nursing is Governor's Rec and Technology Replacement Program Global only. Section 56 is the Board of Examiners in Optometry, and it's the standard budget. On page 93, we have Section 58, which is the Board of Examiners of Speech Language Pathology and Audiology, which was standard budget only. And Section 59, the Board of Pharmacy, did have a technical correction to move $6 from T0 to special revenue. Mr. Chairman, on page 93, Section 61, Board of Certified Public Accountants was standard budget only. Section 62, Board of Physical Therapy was standard budget only. On page 94, Section 64, Board of Hearing and Specialists, standard budget only. On page 95, Section 65, Board of Athletic Trainers, standard budget only. Section 68, Board of Psychology, standard budget only. Moving on to page 96, I would note Section 75, Board of Outfitters and Guides, we did have a technical correction. They had $24,000 in an errant fund code that we moved to special revenue, and I will pause there if there are any questions.
Are there any questions on agency 54, 56, 58, 59, 61, 62, 64, 65, or 68? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 96, Section 78, Mental Health Professionals License Board is the standard budget only. Section 79, Board of Nursing Home Administrators is the standard budget only. Page 97, Section 83, Board of Occupational Therapy is the standard budget only. Section 84, Board of Professional Geologist was the governor's recommendation only to move some positions to the Department of Administration and Information. Moving on to page 98 and towards the end, Section 251, Board of Veterinary Medicine, standard budget only. And finally, Section 252, Board of Acupuncture, standard budget only.
Are there any questions or comments on section agency 78, 79, 83, 84, 251, or 252? Seeing none, Ms. Martineau, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, we're now at the section 300s, which is the narrative portion of the budget on page 100. Section 300A is referred to as the statutory reserve amount. This is 5% of next biennium's general fund revenue as forecast by Craig. Subsection B is a transfer of the forecast cash balance at the end of this biennium on June 30th, 2026 in the amount of $138,974,000 be transferred from the SIPA account to the general fund. This was to help pay for the biennium's activities. And then subsection C provides a transfer from the general fund to the LSRA in the amount of $44.3 million. I'll pause there if there are any questions.
Are there any questions on these sections in the 300s? Seeing none, Director, just backing up a little bit on the Board of Outfitters. I know Ms. Martineau talked about the correction. Just wanted to make sure there was no action that we needed to take as a committee on that correction.
Thank you for highlighting that. I don't believe any action is necessary. At the end of January, you provided staff the ability to make technical corrections, and unfortunately, the agency did use the wrong fund number. It was an archaic fund number AG, which stood for agency funds. That now is referred to as special revenue, and we've made that adjustment. The state budget department is also aware.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 301 is borrowing authority. Subsection A provides cash flow. This has never been used, but in the event the state auditor needs to borrow funds, they have that ability to borrow funds from the LSRA, for example, during a federal government shutdown. Subsection B provides $30 million for wildfires. This funding was in standalone legislation from 2025. It has been increased from $20 million from the prior biennium to $30 million, consistent with 2025's legislation.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on section 301? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 302 provides a separate and distinct $20 million loan authority specifically for fires that originate on state military department lands. This is also a carryover from a prior section 300 in last biennium's budget.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on section 302? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 303 is the ability for agencies or programs to carry over funds from the current biennium over to next biennium. Subsection A provides for that authority on wild horse and burrow management in the governor's office. Subsection B provides disaster contingency also within the governor's office. Subsection C provides for the carryover of up to $207,000 from the Department of Administration and Information. This, I believe, was a Senator Guru amendment that would make those funds available subject to an MOU within the Capitol Square Preservation Account. That means the executive and legislative branches would have say in the expenditure of those funds. Subsection D provides for carryover up to $3.8 million. This one is really the maximum amount that the Stable Token Commission has available from their prior general fund appropriation. It could be less than this amount, would be available to them to carry over into the next biennium. Subsection E provided a specific amount of $100,000 or up to $100,000 from the EORC funds could be carried over for the sole purpose of projects, not for compensation.
Are there any questions on section 303? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, section 304. This is the provision for employee benefits, which provides the maximum amount of payment for the annual the annual amounts of the monthly premiums for health and life and dental insurance combined. Subsection B provides for retiree health insurance. You'll recall I mentioned this in the state auditor's office. This request for $2.18 million was located here as opposed to Agency 3, consistent with past practice. And subsection C, D, E, F, and G provide the framework for the retiree health insurance payments.
Are there any questions or comments on section 304? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, section 305 is the executive branch's flex authority. The percentages between agencies and between programs remains constant, but the JAC did add subsection E on page 111, which specifies that if the flex authority is used, the appropriation from which the funds were transferred shall not be included in the standard budget for that agency.
Director, can you just give us a little history here when the last time that this flex authority was increased or changed?
Those percentages have been remarkably stable since the 1990s. In the early 90s, late 1980s, under Governor Sullivan, those amounts were dramatically higher. I think in one biennium it was up to 100%, basically delegating the ability to make reductions to the executive branch rather than the legislative branch.
Are there any other questions on section 305? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 306 is very similar. This is the judiciary's flex up to 5%, and JAC did add subsection C on page 112, line 9, which provided the same not limitation, but if the authority is exercised, then the program from which funds are transferred, the standard budget must be reduced by that like amount.
Okay. Any questions or comments on section 306? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 307 provides for a limitation on transfers. Specifically, funds cannot be transferred from the 100 series to other series, or for the 900 series to the 100 series. There are a number of agencies that are exempt from this, specifically the Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Health, Department of Corrections, and the Public Defender, and specifically Highway Patrol, which were both designated by footnote. The judicial branch has a similar prohibition, except that it is exempt from transfers under $400,000 total for the biennium.
Director, has this ever been in statute, or has it always been a footnote in the budget?
Mr. Chairman, I believe this has always been in footnote.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on section 307? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 308, this is a little bit tricky in terms of reading. On the bottom of page 113, section 308 is amending section 317 from 4 years prior. All of those prior chapter laws allow the carryover of funds in the EORC, allowing them to spend those funds. I believe they testified that approximately half of those monies were still available, but they did intend to expend those by the end of June 30th, 2028, the end of the next biennium, for purposes of projects only.
This is what I was getting confused with earlier with the building maintenance fund. So thank you for clarifying that. Are there any questions on 308, section 308? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 309 allows specifically the Wyoming Department of Health to carry over funds specifically for 3 purposes: unanticipated Medicaid expenditures, implementation of Title 25, and state facility staffing needs. This has been included in the past couple of biennium budgets. I would note that discussion with the department, you have not seen the amount or the number there on line 4, up to $25 million. Currently, the department anticipates it will be far less than that, single-digit millions of dollars. However, they have about 8 months after you take into account accrual accounting of unknown expenditures going forward.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on section 309? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 310 provides a limitation on salary increases. If there are vacancy savings, for example, funds could not be used if they could not be sustained for compensation increases in the following biennium. This particular provision has received a fair bit of scrutiny, not only by the current administration, but the previous administration.
And could you tell us when this footnote was originated?
Mr. Chairman, this has changed over time, but I believe the first instance of this is around 2014.
2014. Okay. Any questions, comments, or concerns on section 310? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 311, also a relatively new, certainly newer than section 310. This has only been in effect for about 6 years or so, and it's a concurrence with all of the governor's recommendations. If he indicated the funds were for one time or ongoing, the legislature is agreeing with them to the extent that it is not superseded by a footnote. We also included subsection C this year, which provided a blanket approval for the ARPA AWEX. Specifically, there were other agencies, the Workforce Services Department, and others that are also subject to the same ARPA requirements to maintain those AWEC positions.
Are there any questions, concerns, or comments on section 311? Seeing none, Director, please continue.
Section 312 provides for a $16 million matching loan fund. This would be administered by the Wyoming Energy Authority. The loans would be not more than 3%. It would require a contribution of a match, as well as a review by the Attorney General to ensure that all activities are certified to be legal in the transaction, and the then governor shall approve the applicant's proposal for construction or commercial deployment of processing rare earths. I did receive some, I think this was consistent with the motion, but received some feedback among staff when writing this. There occasionally is a different term used, the processing of critical minerals as opposed to the processing of rare earths. The term critical minerals is much broader, includes copper, nickel, as opposed to rare earths, which is a subset of critical minerals. Just wanted to bring that to your attention if we misinterpreted the intent.
Any questions, comments, or concerns on section 312? I would note that the federal government just invested in another corporation that's doing just this as well. So with no further comments, Director, please proceed.
Section 313, no funding, but JAC adopted language that the SLIB board staff from the Office of State Lands and Investments, along with the State Budget Department, and to the extent the Wyoming Business Council remains or any successor entity, shall collaborate with any applicant requesting a loan or a grant from SLIB to do a cost-benefit analysis.
Okay. Any comments, concerns, or questions about section 313? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
The next sections you will see if you're reading, I think, any kind of a copy, you will see that it's colored, meaning we're changing existing statute. Section 314 reduces the spending policy for the Permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund from 5% to 4.5% for the 2 years in the upcoming biennium. Section 315 has an identical change for the Common School Permanent Land Fund. And Section 316 provides for a distribution of 50% to the general fund, 50% to the Public School Foundation Program for all FMRs over $200 million, rather than the statutory distribution of 1/3 to the Public School Foundation Program and 2/3 to the general fund. That's sections 314, 15, and 16.
Director Richards, could you give us the net effect of footnote or section 315 and 316 on the school foundation program?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So section 3 and actually 314 impacts the school foundation program as well, because 45% of the SIPA funds are directed to the school foundation program. So all three of these impact the school foundation program. 314 reduces the SFP by $50.8 million. 315 reduces the SFP by $55.8 million. And 316 increases the school foundation program by $95.1 million. I believe the difference there is a net reduction to the SFP by $10.7 million.
Thank you. Any other questions about section 314, 315, and 316? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
The next section is 317. This is a mandated reversion of any funds available in the BRC prior appropriations. That's the Business Ready Communities operated by the Wyoming Business Council. I believe currently there's right at $57 million available. In our profile, we're only profiling $54.9 million because we recognize that the Business Council has some pending applications before it, and those applications arguably could be approved at their regularly scheduled meeting in February.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on section 317? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 318. Again, this is kind of one of those tricky ones where 318 is pulling in prior bills, specifically section 321 and 325. This imposes a 10-day review for the energy matching funds and the federal infrastructure grant funds that have been previously appropriated. This allows Management Council and the Joint Appropriations Committee 10 days notice before those funds are approved by the governor.
Any questions on section 318? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 319 may be the most complicated section in the budget bill. This impacts the distribution of Wyoming stable token funds. Currently, funds must be funds up to 102% of the notional value of all outstanding tokens shall first be maintained before any additional revenue spills over into the administrative account. The ordering of those two funds has been switched just for the period of this biennium. I think the purpose behind this provision is to allow the Stable Token Commission to generate its own funds as soon as possible in order to support operations for the upcoming biennium, since the Joint Appropriations Committee denied any general funds requested. You will see at the bottom of page 126 that there is a maximum amount of up to $8.1 million that can be used to pay for the operational costs of the Stable Token Commission. Finally, I would also mention that the Blockchain Task Force does have legislation that it doesn't quite mirror, but is very similar, almost identical to this legislation. And if the committee so desired, you may wish to consider amending this section to add a subsection F that indicates this subsection shall not be effective if that legislation is enacted.
Okay.
You could do that on the floor as well and see how that bill proceeds. I just wanted to bring it up that you have the potential of two identical actions.
Okay. Is there a desire of the committee to address this now? Okay. We'll deal with that on the floor. Director, please don't let us forget that.
No problem. Section 320 is the business relocation incentive. This provides up to $15 million from the Wyoming Tourism Reserve and Projects account to attract a Rodeo Cowboy Museum Hall of Fame. You will see on page 128 the distribution of those funds: $3 million essentially effective immediate, $2 million this summer on July 1, 2026, and $10 million on July 1, 2027. You will see very similar boilerplate language that the Tourism Board shall solicit applications and determine and certify that any relocation efforts has a reasonable expectation of generating additional jobs, gross state product, state revenue, and economic diversification. There is a matching funds requirement as well as a review by the Attorney General. I did want to bring this one up as well. I believe it was Senator Garou that made at least part of the motion for the distribution of these funds. Upon an analysis, the $3 million to be paid on April 15th, we believe will be available. The next $2 million we also believe will be available. The final $10 million may not be available on July 1, 2027. So we just wanted to bring that to the committee's attention. So in the event those funds are not available, you will see that the language states as soon as funds are available on or after that July 1 date. It's quite possible that that may take a few months of lodging tax revenues to be submitted in order to make good on that final payment.
Senator Drew.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. The intent was, and to those of you who've been, there last year, we were all there last year, I believe, about the, how did we do the money for the shooting sports complex or not? How much did we do? What didn't we do? So all I was trying to do, when I put that 10 million out at the end, I figure that we are going to address that when we get to that year as we get to that year of the budget, and we may move it or change it or whatever. But what I wanted to do is just make sure that what we'd agreed to, what the governor said in his letter, what the ask was all about was 15 million. I wanted to make sure that 15 million was in this biennium, so there was no, no confusion about what the legislative intent was. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions on 320? Okay, seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 321 encapsulates judicial letter number 1 for court security grants, roughly 90% general funds, 10% local match, the amount of $3.28 million for the general fund portion.
Any questions about section 321? Director, please proceed.
Section 322 is a carryover. I believe this is the third biennium for which this language is needed, but I believe it will be the last. This was requested by the Wyoming Trust, Wildlife Natural Resource Trust account or board to allow the funds that they have secured from Rocky Mountain Power agreement to be expended.
Any questions or comments on section 322? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 323 pulls in language from 2023 session laws, and this was our language that essentially provides for the loan forgiveness and discharge in the amount of $75 million for the residence halls constructed at the University of Wyoming from the Legislative Stabilization Reserve account, essentially writing off that loan.
Any questions or concerns or comments on section 323? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 324 relates to the Wyoming State Penitentiary Capital Construction Account. This goes into last year's Senate File 169 and amends the language after the governor had vetoed that language and specifies that the original legislative position of $9 million be available from SIPA for purposes of the department's security system.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on section 324? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, the next section is section 325. This is a legislative intent section that indicates that the legislature intends to reduce appropriations contained in this act if an agency or entity is acting outside of its legal authority.
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on section 325? Seeing none, Director, please continue.
Section 326, this increases the Hathaway Scholarship Awards at every level, the opportunity, performance, honor, and needs-based scholarships by 30%. In this case, there is also a Joint Education Committee bill, Senate File 47, that does similar activities, but they actually increase it a fair bit more. I think there's closer to around 60% increase in the scholarship awards. If that legislation is successful, this section would not be enacted, and vice versa.
And remind us again, the bill, whether it's sustainable based on the position of the account.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is one of those areas where I might argue a little bit against using the Craig forecast and using historic amounts of investment earnings actually generated. And the reason for that is none of the Craig forecasts include capital gains. And we have looked back for about 10, 15 years, and we are consistently generating around $25 million. I'm hand waving a bit here, but around $25 million in investment income and spending out about $17 million on scholarships. So there is certainly opportunity to increase the scholarships. The 30% certainly falls within that expectation. One might even say that up to 40% could be supported based upon historic investment returns.
And again, the amount in the Senate File 47, amount of the increase.
Mr. Chairman, I'll actually ask staff to look at that. I thought it was around 60% increase, but maybe they could look at that while we go on to the next one and get back to you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Section 327 is the repeal of $2.5 million in the tourism funds for the air races, the national championship air races. You will recall they were considering Casper as a opportunity there that was not played out. So this, unfortunately, because Wyoming has a practice, in fact, a requirement of the Constitution not to amend laws by reference, we're actually bringing in the 2024 appropriation for the Wyoming Tourism Board to strike that out. We have been able to do this easier in prior years, but unfortunately in this case, we just can't, refer and repeal all of Agency 66, and you can see why. They still need that $41 million to pay their staff and contracts and equipment and travel expenditures for the current biennium. So it's a little bit awkward drafting, quite frankly, but this is our effort to revert that $2.5 million and do it effective immediate, so those funds would be available for other activities, for example, to attract a cowboy or rodeo museum.
Any questions, comments, or concerns on Section 327? Seeing none, Director, please proceed.
Section 339 are the references to the repealed section. The first one is the University of Wyoming loan reporting. So the state treasurer's office, when that loan is discharged, does not have to continue to ask for an appropriation to discharge that loan. And then the last two are a repeal of the reporting requirements for the energy matching funds and the federal infrastructure matching funds. They have been replaced by that 10-day notice that I spoke of previously.
Did you say Section 339? Because I'm not seeing it. I see 399 and 400.
Yes, 399, excuse me, if I misspoke.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or concerns or comments on Section 399? Seeing none. Did you covered 400 in that last comment as well, did you not?
Mr. Chairman, the 400 is simply the effective date. However, I have something that is not in here that I want to bring to the attention of the committee, and that is a budget balancer suggestion. So when you left in January, number one, I think the direction was to set aside funds in the amount of $44 million in the LSRA to use SIPA funds, that is the cash that is available, and to leave approximately $50 million on the table for the floors for other amendments, legislation, and the like. Well, the first issue we have is we left $50 million. Once we accomplished that $44 million for the LSRA and the $130 million from the SIPA account, we left $50 million more than the governor had on the table. Unfortunately, the governor's request was underwater by $15 million solely due to the January revision of the Craig estimates. So you end up with about $34 million available for the floors and not the full 50. That's issue number one. We wanted to make sure, did you want the full 50 available, or was 50 over the gov's rec acceptable? Issue number two is perhaps more problematic in that there is a lot of revenue in the general fund for the first current biennium, 25-26, and there's insufficient funds in the next biennium, 27-28. And we thought about a number of ways to accomplish the movement of those funds, and we came up with, I think, the cleanest approach to do that. I have emailed you some draft language that accomplishes that. It essentially moves $100 million rather than have it transfer this biennium, because it's unnecessary to be transferred this biennium, to have that available next biennium in the 27-28 biennium. That is what that language accomplishes. We can certainly modify that language, add more money if you wanted it to be exactly 50 million available for the floors or other pieces of legislation. But right now, the profile will be negative in the second year. So we're not changing the total amount expended. We're just trying to put it, make it available in the right years. And that language would be one approach to that. Happy to discuss other options.
Senator Grew.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Don, I'm looking at the amendment now that you sent, section 398, budget transfers. So how much did you say that leaves then for the floors for this biennium? Just to make sure I understood you correctly.
34 million.
34?
Any other? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if it helps, and it may not, it may confuse the issue more, but I'd be happy to share my screen of the draft goldenrod that kind of visually shows what we're talking about here,
Please
or
do.
not.
Yeah, please do, Director.
So this is available to the public. This is a draft of our goldenrod. We call it the white rod in its current form. And you will see that all of the items that the JAC did are highlighted in light green. This is the general fund, which appears on page 2 of the fiscal profile. And you will see at the bottom line here, there is a very large balance available in this current biennium, 25-26, under your recommendations, and just $34 million available in the next biennium. Not in order to keep this money to not revert or not roll over into the LSRA, we need some mechanism to stop that. And so what we have suggested appears on page 3 of the profile under the LSRA. Currently, under the governor's recs and under the JAC position, $100 million is coming out of the LSRA and to the general fund, in both cases in this current 25-26 biennium. Our suggestion is to move that $100 million just for the general or JAC recommendation over here in this far right column so that the money is available next biennium. The amounts here will be the same, $34 million. So if you wanted to make that larger, you would have to transfer more than 100, say 116 million if you wanted to bring it up exactly to $50 million available for the floor. But if you just move this 100 million from one biennium to the next, you're going to end up with the LSRA balance at exactly the same place that you would at $1.5 billion.
But our cash flow position will look better.
Mr. Chairman, yes, the funds would be available. If we don't move that because of the statutory sweeps and whatnot, you'll actually end up underwater in the general fund for 27, 28.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Okay.
Not real bad.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Grew.
unless there are more questions, I would move the budget balancers transfer amendment that has been sent to us, section 398. I can read it if you want, or if you all have a copy, you can see it. I would leave the number where it is, and I think that we can adjust as we get to the interim budget, and the crystal ball be clear as far as where our revenues are in other areas too. So I don't think it needs to change to get to 50 million for the next budget. So I'll just leave it there.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Haroldson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senator Grew's motion to move this budget balancer, section 398, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Any other motions? Director?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our presentation. I did want to just do a handful of house cleaning items before you vote on final passage. The Senate file sponsored by the Joint Education Committee increased the Hathaway scholarships by 40%. So that's a
40%.
comparison 40% as opposed to your position, which is 30%. Arguably, both are within the realm of possibilities for future investment income.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would also say we intend to make all of these changes post the legislation with the chairman's permission this weekend. So we will be emailing this, presuming a positive vote here. We will also work with the chairman if you want the what we refer to as the status report, which is the legal size paper available on the desk of members on Monday, or whether you want to come back and physically sign a copy of that and have it available a little bit later in the day. I think those are our housekeeping items.
Okay. Mr. Co-Chair, do you have a preference, signed or unsigned?
I do not have a preference.
Okay. What has been the practice in the past on this, Director?
Mr. Chairman, they have physically signed it. However, in the past few years, we have used electronic signatures. So perhaps I could send that to you, and with your approval, we will add your electronic signature.
And if we do that, would that delay you getting that till the afternoon, or would you be able to get that in the morning?
It would be available in the morning.
I think that's a great solution right there. And when will that be available for our review so we can authorize the electronic signature?
Mr. Chairman, and we do appreciate Senator Guru's comments on volume of changes. You have not taxed us overly. We will be able to address this tomorrow and send that out for your approval late in the day tomorrow.
Very good. Okay. With that, I think we're ready to vote. I think we'll go back to Ms. Vaughn and ask her to take the roll.
Yes, sir. For 26 LSO 0435, Senator Driscoll. Senator
We
French.
lost him.
Senator Guru.
Well, I'll vote aye.
Somebody had to get things started.
Yeah.
Senator Larson.
Aye.
Representative Alleman.
Aye.
Representative Angelos.
Aye.
Representative Haroldson.
Aye.
Representative Pendergraph.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Representative Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, Senator French did text me a vote of aye, just so
Yeah.
you know.
Just got it visually from him as well.
Co-Chairman Salazar,
Aye.
Chairman Bear.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 11 aye, 1 open.
Okay, well, Senator Salazar, do you have a preference? You want to just go ahead and close this out so we can finish this meeting out?
That's fine.
Okay, we'll use an excused for that vote. And I assume you
Hi,
there we go. Thank you.
sorry,
Driscoll.
I'm having a hard time getting through.
Thank you. Appreciate you putting the effort in. And Ms. Vaughn, did you get Senator French's vote on the other two bills?
Yes, sir, I did. He did indicate that he voted aye on both of those.
Very well. Okay. And I can't even remember. Did I get to vote on this? Did we get to that point? All right. What was our final vote count, Ms. Vaughn?
Your final vote count on 0435 is 12 aye.
12 aye. All right. Everyone, thank you for your hard work today. Appreciate the effort, and our staff, thank you for getting this together and getting this knocked out. This, I believe, will be numbered House Bill 1 and then Senate File 1, and we'll be working on it in a mirrored fashion in this next week. Everybody get a little bit of rest while you can and get ready. Director, is there anything else before we adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe so. I think we will either be calling you or asking your permission. Both of you have some outstanding bills to be numbered, JAC bills to be numbered. And unfortunately, those numbers are needed for other bills that reference those. So for example, the Business Council legislation that was approved, we just need your approval to number those.
Okay. All right, we'll get that done. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.